Il villaggio, a metà strada tra gli orrori di Gaza e l'attesa dei parenti degli ostaggi a Tel Aviv, è il simbolo della vita condivisa tra ebrei israeliani e arabi palestinesi. Quanto, dopo il 7 ottobre, ha influito sullo stato d'animo degli abitanti e come siete riusciti a rielaborare l'acuirsi di un conflitto che ha segnato un'ulteriore distanza nelle differenze tra arabi ed ebrei.
Since the October 7, Wahat, al-Salam, Neve, Shalom, Oasis of Peace, as any other community, we were in complete shock and trauma of what's happened. Nobody expect this massive attack by Hamas warriors against the Israelis settlements in the south. But we knew that the situation in Gaza is very bad. For 17 years of siege and the poverty, the rate and the need on the humanitarian aid in Gaza was increasing. And the blockade around Gaza couldn't continue forever. But attacking civilians and kidnapping kids and mothers and families, it's unacceptable, and we were all speechless. We lost friends, peace activists in the attack. We lost friends, and at the same time we have members in Wahat al-Salam in the village who lost their dear ones and their family, extended families in Gaza, and they were bombed to death and killed. We couldn't continue at the same life. We were under severe stress also because we are located a 30 minutes drive from Gaza, so we hear all the bombs and the Air Force planes and the missiles, and it was terrifying for us all, the Arab and the Jewish. Wahat al-Salam is a model who believe in shared life. We believe in non-violence action. We believe that we should do everything to proceed the peace process and to end this conflict peacefully in non-violence ways and not in war. And here we are 17 months after almost 60 or 50,000 victims. Till now there is 59 hostages in Gaza that they also will face the death penalty if this war will continue. We know that wars and violence will not bring anyone home and will not keep any Palestinian safe as we deserve. The humanitarian catastrophe is overwhelming for us all, and for peace activists it's really hard time to be paralyzed and cannot speak, cannot protest. We couldn't for months say something because peace activists, Palestinians, especially inside Israel, were persecuted and taken to jail because they post something against the war. And this is the minimum that we can do, and not mentioning fundraise money or collect humanitarian aid or to help the injured people in Gaza. We lost journalists, doctors, we lost social workers. I was in Gaza 2 months before October, in the summer of 2023, and I saw the need. I visited a women's shelter that was bombed to the scratch. I worked with abused women inside the Palestinian Gazian city, and every institution for medical aid or birth control or help or social services was destroyed during the war. And these women and orphan kids need someone to help them, and we are banned and forbidden to get even to that point to help with the food and to food supply. It's a torture for peace activists. It's really heartbroken for our community. Now we are organizing a peace conference in May 8 and 9. Hopefully thousands will show up. We know now in the Israeli public that more and more people understand that this war is a personal war for Bibi's Netanyahu purposes to stay in control. We know that only negotiation and peace agreement will bring the hostages back and end the war. So it's really hard to say, but we knew that this is happening because Wahat al-Salam, Neve, Shalom have almost 50 years of experience living in peace, and we know that the only way to live in peace is pure democracy without any kind of supremacy, and to give access to the services and rights equally for Palestinian and Israelis. It sounds like a dream now, and it's what's happening in my region. But the reality says, and that we all understand in the village and outside, that 7 million Palestinians live around 7 million Israeli Jewish between the river and the sea. And the only equation that we know that can maintain security and peace for all, and the only equation that we know is democracy. And we practice that in our small community for the last 50 years. And we can't see why it cannot be implemented in the region. So Wahat al-Salam became very active in the peace community, in the press and media, advocating with other peace organizations. We are not the only people who are seeking to this, but we are with partners with other peace organizations, shared society organizations, to proceed the peace and to, at least in this point, to stop the war and demand immediate ceasefire.
Quali sono le ragioni di un conflitto così atavico e perché questa volta è così diversa dalle altre volte?
Myself, I'm 49 years old, Palestinian citizen in Israel. I became a Palestinian citizen of Israel after the Nakba. In 48, my family was enforced to leave the village that I was supposed to be born in. And I am the third generation of this refugee problem. My grandparents ended up inside the new state of Israel, but the majority of the Palestinians, including my extended family, became refugees in Syria and Lebanon and other places around the world. And the source of the problem started with the injustice that happened to the Palestinian people in 48, when the British mandate ended and the Jewish tribes take over the Palestinian land after the World War II. So the international community didn't take care of the indigenous Palestinian people who lived in that land. In the beginning, it was the 48 war, and then the 67, and then the war in Lebanon. The ongoing battle, the ongoing conflict that bring more pain and more injustice, more occupation of and oppression of the Palestinian people, bring us to this point. This is the source of all the problems of this conflict, because, and we have, a cease fire or cease from this conflict after Oslo, because all of us, Palestinians and Israelis and in the international community, cultivate the Oslo Accord, and we have some hope that in a few years the independent Palestinian state will become true, and it will give some hope for the Palestinians, and then the right-wing settlers, fascist leaders inside Israel take over, and what's happened, 20 years of the settlements policy. Now we ended up in 700,000 Palestinians occupying the settlers occupying the area C, area A, area B. And this was supposed to be the independent Palestinian state. Putting a siege on Gaza, it was one of the crucial and painful collective punishment for 2 million Palestinians in Gaza. So now we are suffering, in my opinion, from the repeating the same mistake, trying to erase and to vanish the Palestinian indigenous people and their rights, and not give them the recognition as people who need to be independent and to have their own identity, their own country. And now, in these circumstances, Israel has unlimited support from the United States, from most of the Western countries, and they support the occupation policy, and that gives the Palestinians no hope. And when some people lose hope and they need the basic needs to continue to live in dignity and security, this situation, we are paying the price for it. Palestinian and Israelis, we are living now this ongoing ugly war because of that, because Israel tried to make peace with Saudi and Emirates and Bahrain and other places, while the Palestinians left behind. There are 7 million Palestinians around Israel, and they are the neighbors, the real people who we need to make peace with. And neglecting what's happening to the Palestinian on the ground bring us to this point. Israel have a free pass to use the violence, to use weapons, to kill Palestinians. That's why we see this awful, catastrophes and massacres everywhere. And now, when people on the ground need only to live and struggling for their life, the transfer fantasies of the Jewish people, the settlers who are controlling Netanyahu's government, with the support of the Trump administration, this lunatic, crazy idea that we make jokes about a few years ago became the real thing. And this is came, with the aggression, and you probably know what the Israeli IDF is doing in the refugee camps in the West Bank as well, in Jenin, in Ramallah, and Tulkarem, in Nablus. They are vanishing and relocating and destroying everything related to the refugees problem. So if we destroy the refugee camps, will finish the refugee thing. That's why they are attacking the UNRWA. Anything related to the rehabilitation and maintain the right of the Palestinian to return to their land now is under the attack, with the support of the U.S. government mainly, or the U.S. regime. But on the history, trying to erase people like the Armenian, the Jewish in the War II, in Rwanda, in Myanmar, we know that you cannot make genocide and have a free pass and continue to live. We know that it's not doable even, to kill 7 million people, or to switch them, to switch their mind, or to remove them from the space. It's not going to happen. This is bringing more crimes, more catastrophes, more pain to both people, and this must end. And I think the first step is to realize that the Palestinian people always have been in between the river and the sea, and they always will be the neighbors of the Jewish people. We in Wahat al-Salam believe that this neighbor things have to be done peacefully, and we know how to do it. Now the Israelis don't even think about this option. They think this is the dichotomic, very violent way. It's black and white. It's or us or them, and there is place for one people in this area, and it will be the Jewish people. This is the most dangerous approach that we face in 76 years.
Dopo il 7 ottobre, per far conoscere in Israele cosa succede realmente a Gaza, avete dato avvio ad un nuovo progetto, Stampa per la Pace. che ha lo scopo di sensibilizzare l'opinione pubblica sulle molteplici facce del conflitto e sulle possibili soluzioni, e per creare un linguaggio nuovo passando da una comunicazione disumanizzante al linguaggio della pace. Ci racconta quali sono le possibili soluzioni del conflitto e come si costituisce questo nuovo linguaggio?
So I'm leading the communication office in Wahat al-Salam, Neve, Shalom. As a spokesperson, I arrange dozens of interviews for foreign journalists who came to Israel-Palestine to cover what's happened in Gaza. And in a few weeks, as a journalist, you know that you need new stories, and most of the foreign journalists from all over the world, I have to say, they came from Italy, Switzerland, England, the US, and even from Thailand. We have people who were interested in this peace model of Wahat al-Salam, Neve, Shalom, to bring the other story that people Arab and Jewish can live together, and they don't have to kill each other, and they can live peacefully together. So I noticed that for many months, like for almost a year, no Jewish journalists show up. Nobody want to talk about our model in Hebrew. You know, we have also Arabic journalists who came from the Arab world to cover what we do and what we are trying to do, especially during the war. But none of the Jewish mainstream media came to cover, and we know all that the mainstream media in Israel was recruited to speak up and to repeat the IDF messages. They were full on board with the government without nothing related to criticizing or questioning the Israeli policy. Now we know some voices like about the demonstrations, and they cover that story, but for many months they full support the government story, repeating the lies and the brainwashing the world, you know. So this is not the real role of honest, brave journalism. And one of the journalists, the Jewish journalist, says, like, when I have to choose to being a journalist or nationalist, I will choose Zionism. I am here as a Jewish, not as a professional journalist. And this was the most triggering part of inventing the peace press, because the Israeli media, or the Israeli public, the normal people, see only the national TVs, and there's 3 national channels, and one is really, really fascist, 14 channel number 14, which is it's, you know, the messages from incitement and hate speech, and we have to kill them all, we have to rape them all kind of messages that were published, and they were mentioned actually in the EU special committee to investigate the crime in Gaza. So the stories from the mainstream media is actually a huge evidence against the Israeli policy now in the International Court of Justice, and it was taped and it was published by Israeli journalists. So we thought that it might be, it was a really courage, you know, to hear the voices, the other voice of people who do speak about ceasefire, do speak about agreements and humanitarian aid, and the urgency to speak about peace, for example. So we want to change the terminology. We want to give some people that there is an alternative way than continue this ongoing war. We don't have to fight forever. There is a solution, and it should be on the table. At least we have to bring it to the mainstream media. I was supposed, you know, before October 7, I was twice a week in the national TV as interviewer. I interpretate what's happened in the Arab world, what's happened in the Palestinian society, what's happened with the women and gender issues. And after October 7, I was banned for months, and I'm not alone. So only the generals and the military people go there and, you know, encourage people and recruit people to support the IDF. And the other voice was hidden. Even there was a few Jewish lefties journalist who was liberal and started to question the policy of the Israeli government, and they told him it's not the time. We don't want to hear you. You have now a vacation, and they are very respectful journalists that they were banned from being on the mainstream media. It is sad to see it, that how is the Israeli propaganda machine brainwash the minds of the Jewish people, and mentioning the Holocaust all the time, that all the world will kill us and we have to fight and this is the only way to survive. It was pathetic to see this happening to 6 million innocent Israelis. I think they were the real hostages by this media and by their government. So the Peace Press is an initiative that we started in our education institution to gather the voices of peace, people who speak in Hebrew and Arabic and English, mainly in Hebrew, about the other option, the other narrative, the story that is been hidden from the regular communities in Israel. And we started with 7-8 influencers, people who speak about, and now we have around 400 people in the group, mainly Jewish, who post all the time, write all the time, stream all the time from the ground that there is voices for ceasefire and stop the war now. And now we see them also on the demonstrations as well, sending the other message. Some of them have been persecuted. Some of them were accused by betrayal their national Jewish state. Some of them face waves of incitement and hatred in the social media. And this is like virtual battle about the narrative that we are trying to send on the air. We are now very weak, small voice, but some point this war will end and they will start ask what now, what we can do more. And the voices of peace should be loud, proud, and pure on the air.
Nel libro racconti di provenire da una famiglia di rifugiati e di avere conosciuto la storia che ti hanno tramandato in famiglia e poi di avere conosciuto invece a scuola sui libri una storia diversa di ebrei arrivati in una landa desolata, in un paese in cui non c'erano degli abitanti, invece c'erano. Ecco, proprio l'educazione, quello che si studia a scuola sui libri, è il focus del Villaggio. Come si può ripartire dai giovani che si nutrono dell'odio dei padri, rispettivamente palestinesi o israeliani, per costruire la pace attraverso proprio l'educazione?
My personal story started as a small kid in a very small town in the north of Israel, the Galil. It's Arab small village. And I learned, I was educated by the public system in Israel, public education system that most of the kids in Israel attend, and not the private schools. My both parents were teachers, and they lost everything in the Nakba, their land, their properties. So they built themselves from the beginning in this new village as refugees, and they invest in education. So the education that I got is basically Arab education inside the Israeli system. So we used to learn and to memorize the story of the Jewish people who came to this empty land and built this beautiful Israel, and became this empty land. The desert became a beautiful garden of course, my grandmother, that she has her own garden in the village that she was evacuated from, exiled from, and forced to leave by the power of the guns. She didn't like that story. She have different story. The narrative in my family that we lost everything because of the War of 48. And we were here for decades. Actually, my grandmother told me that there was always a Jewish neighbor to her village, and they were friends and get along together without killing each other. So there is Jewish settlements next to Palestinian village for 30 years because the Zionist Jewish start to came in the 20s and before. So she didn't understand why they have to kill, why they have to exile, why they have to evacuate her village, and she died with this trauma. But in my books, I read Hebrew, I read the story of the Holocaust, I read the story of the 5 waves of the new immigration of the Jewish people from Europe and other countries to my land. So this is like kind of contradiction that I take with me to the Hebrew University. I decided to go to the Hebrew University to live in Jerusalem, to study social work. I graduated the social work school and my master's degree also in social work and gender studies. And so I met my first Jewish classmate or colleague in age 19 or 18. I was so young. And I spoke a little bit Hebrew because I learned the Hebrew literature because it was mandatory thing. And I realized that I am, with all this complicity, I'm in better shape than them. I know some Hebrew, they don't know anything about people, the Arab people or the Palestinians, or they don't speak Arabic. They maybe enjoy Arab food, but they don't communicate with Arabs. And usually the Jewish students came after serving in the army. So the only Palestinians who they met, they were in the checkpoints and the occupied territories. So for them, the Palestinians are the enemy, and I will be identified with that people. So, and they have so many stereotypes about me, and I'm Muslim without hijab, I'm oppressed at home, I have been abused, so many Islamophobic stereotype that they came with from their military service. And I wondered if this is my role to fix it. Okay, I don't know, but I know that I have the duty to put myself out there and to speak up and to tell the truth of my story. So, and I decided also that our segregated public education system in Israel educate these people to be Zionist fighters, soldiers, and Arab haters, and educate me in bad way that I have to be afraid from them. I don't have to be integrated. I have to tell my narrative, Palestinian narrative, in behind closed doors, to be afraid all the time and to shut up in the public space. So someone failed to prepare us both, the Palestinian kids and the Israeli kids, for the reality that this place is mixed, integrated. There is Palestinians everywhere, Jewish Israelis everywhere, in the Hebrew University, in the classroom, in the market, in the pharmacy, in the schools, everywhere, especially in the academy. And now we know also in the health system, 40% of the personnel in the health system inside Israel is occupied by Palestinian doctors and nurses and caregivers. So you can't, act like nothing happened. You can't act like there is no Palestinian Israeli around. And the public system of education did not prepare us to this reality. They failed. So I decided as a student that it's not going to happen to my unborn children. I can't allow this failure to continue for decades. This is still, the Israeli system is segregated, is separated, and we wonder why they hate each other when they are grown up. Because the ignorance and the fear and the incitement in our the books in Hebrew, that the chosen people, they have the supreme rights, and God this God gives them this divine rights, that we can't argue about. All of this system of brainwashing the brains of the Jewish kids and the Arab kids, it's not working. We are suffering now from this failure. Every generation became more radical, became more violent, became more extremes, and I think this is bad for both sides. So I decided that my children will have something different. And then I stayed in Jerusalem. I have my first child. He was 5 years old, and we were looking for first grade, in East Jerusalem, and it was after Oslo. I couldn't educate him in the Jewish system. I couldn't educate him in the foreign Christian or diplomatic, schools in East Jerusalem. I couldn't educate him in the Palestinian side because they use the Jordanian curriculum. And they don't speak Hebrew, they don't speak Arabic. So it was too much to handle. So we almost gave up, and I wanted to go back home with this failure and to go back to the normal public school. And then I was introduced to Wahat al-Salam, Neve, Shalom, integrated bilingual, binational education. The primary school of this village is integrated. We have Arab and Jewish kids inside the classroom, both teachers, Arab and Jewish, speaking Arabic and Hebrew. It's not only about the language, it's about the history, it's about the inheritance, the tradition, the religion. Everything is integrated and in sensitive way. It's not like, so we promote a speech of tolerance and respect and knowledge. We are not afraid from what happened in 48 and 67. We are not afraid to tell the kids the truth and both stories, and with this heavy history for both people, we can share some kind of future. So I liked that message, and I thought it was good enough for my little boy. So we moved to Wahat al-Salam, Neve, Shalom in the year 2000. It's ironic and painful at the same time. This was October 2000. The second intifada just started, and here we go, like after 25 years, we have another bloody October, and we did not achieve peace, but Wahat al-Salam go bigger. We are now 300 residents, 90 families. We have a waiting list of families, Arab and Jewish, who want to join the community. We have more than 300 kids in the school coming from the surrounded area. So we are not the only people who believe in this model. In Israel, Palestine, there is now 9 bilingual schools outside the village. So that means that the common people and the community, the ordinary people want peace. The ordinary people want different things for their kids. And I think that we contribute to the education system in Israel, Palestine, to offer this alternative model of education, the binational, bilingual peace education system. And I am proud that after 25 years, I'm leading with my Jewish partner, the co-director Nir Sharon. We are leading this education system for the kids, for the parents, for the adults, with the School for Peace, and with the interfaith leadership as well in the spiritual center. So we have something to offer the world. We are very small, tiny, modest voice now, but nobody can deny that we exist for the last 50 years, and it is a small success story to the world.
Aver ascoltato il racconto di Samah direttamente al villaggio, mi piacerebbe chiederti intanto come ti è venuta l'idea di raccogliere in un libro le esperienze del villaggio.
Questo libro è nato durante la guerra, prima dell'ultimo cessate il fuoco, e quindi in un momento estremamente doloroso anche per la comunità, perché come ci ha raccontato Samah, il 7 ottobre, la guerra che ne è seguita, hanno portato tanti lutti anche in prima persona per gli abitanti del villaggio. E poi ci sono stati i lunghi mesi di guerra, una tragedia infinita di trauma e morte per la situazione. Quindi a un certo punto, nel mezzo appunto di questo buio, abbiamo pensato come associazione italiana, con la collaborazione della casa editrice ITL, che fosse arrivato il momento di far sentire anche qui in Italia una voce differente, una voce controcorrente, e una voce anche che parla di futuro, di respiro, di speranza. E quella voce è quella appunto degli abitanti del villaggio di Neve, Shalom, Wahat, al-Salam. Il libro è nato anche proprio con l'idea di dare voce per la prima volta in italiano proprio agli abitanti, cioè di far raccontare a loro che cos'è quella realtà e come ha vissuto questa guerra, che purtroppo avendo il villaggio alle spalle 50 anni di storia, ha vissuto già altre guerre, 2 intifada, e quindi ha purtroppo alle spalle una lunga storia di conflitto, così come ovviamente la terra in cui è inserito. Ecco, all'interno di questo contesto ci piaceva l'idea di far parlare loro a partire dalle storie personali di queste persone. Quindi siamo partiti anche nelle interviste che sono alla base di ciascun capitolo del libro. Siamo partiti da quello che è la singola persona, la sua storia, le sue scelte, come mai ha deciso di abitare nella comunità, di abitare con quella che viene chiamata l'altra parte. E il libro raccoglie appunto testimonianze di diverse persone di diverse età, uomini e donne, che vivono all'interno del villaggio e che hanno un ruolo all'interno delle istituzioni educative, che sono la scuola primaria bilingue binazionale, la scuola per la pace, che lavora con gli adulti sull'educazione al dialogo, che ha una lunga storia in termini di gestione del conflitto. È nata nel 1979, ha sviluppato in tutti questi anni un metodo che all'inizio era pionieristico e poi adesso è un metodo assolutamente professionale e anche esportato all'estero, nell'ambito appunto della mediazione. La Scuola per la Pace è il centro spirituale pluralista di comunità, centro spirituale che ha un carattere multiculturale, che dà spazio a tutte le fedi e anche le sensibilità che abitano in quella terra.
Nelle interviste che tu hai fatto e raccolto nel libro, mi colpiva molto che c'è sempre questa dimensione del dopo. Cosa desiderano dopo? Ecco, con l'idea che prima o poi la guerra terminerà e quindi ci sarà un futuro, è proprio il respiro che viene fuori dal libro. Allora volevo chiederti, secondo te, qual è il futuro per gli israeliani e i palestinesi? Come potranno vivere nuovamente in pace e come faranno a riconciliare e a ricucire le ferite che quest'ultima guerra ha prodotto?
È una domanda che sicuramente ne contiene tante altre, e rispondo per quella che è la mia esperienza anche nella scrittura di questo libro, che è un'esperienza di grande ricchezza umana che ho ricevuto, che sicuramente si percepisce nella lettura di queste storie, no? Quindi sono tutte persone con una straordinaria ricchezza umana e anche capacità di empatia verso l'altro. Eldad Gioffe, il sindaco del villaggio, nel messaggio che ha scritto, che abbiamo messo all'inizio del libro, dice proprio questo, cioè dice: questo è un momento estremamente difficile dal 7 ottobre in poi anche per la comunità, non è il momento di iniziative di pace rivoluzionarie, ma stiamo, uso questa parola, mantenendo il terreno, cioè cercando di intanto anche tenere unita la comunità, perché come è facilmente immaginabile con dei traumi del genere, lo sforzo è anche quello proprio di rimanere uniti. E la cosa bella che diverse persone del villaggio ci dicono è che nessuno ha lasciato la comunità durante questa guerra. E allo stesso tempo Eldad dice anche appunto non è il momento di iniziative di pace rivoluzionarie, ma è il momento di pensare al dopo, e è un dopo a cui noi stiamo già lavorando, è un dopo, una prospettiva a cui purtroppo non stiamo assistendo oggi, cioè non vediamo dal punto di vista del paese, del governo, una prospettiva, no? Cioè al momento c'è la guerra e sembra che questa guerra continuerà all'infinito e non si sta preparando questo dopo. Quello che invece gli abitanti stanno cercando di fare è proprio questo, cioè dire: ok, adesso c'è questa situazione, lottiamo e facciamo di tutto in collaborazione con tutto il Movimento per la Pace in Israele per opporci a quello che sta avvenendo, però allo stesso tempo dobbiamo preparare quello che la società del dopo. E come lo facciamo? Lo facciamo attraverso l'educazione. L'educazione è proprio il cuore del lavoro del villaggio, che infatti gli abitanti stessi non chiamano quasi villaggio, ma una istituzione educativa che lavora sul lungo termine. Questa è anche un'espressione proprio che ama ripetere Samah Salaime, la portavoce, cioè non è semplicemente un villaggio in cui le persone vivono insieme, ma un progetto che lavora sull'educazione alla pace fin da piccoli, dai bambini dell'asilo nido, scuola dell'infanzia, scuola primaria e poi la scuola per la pace per gli adulti. E quindi chiaramente è un dopo su cui cioè che richiede tempo, no? Per essere preparato, perché ci vogliono anni per crescere una generazione diversa, però probabilmente è l'unica strada, è l'unica direzione da prendere.